is September 13th, 2025. I'm continuing with my book, Uriel's Word, A Lightworker's Journey. And this is episode 3. This is a nonfiction book, and it is dedicated to all the valiant starseeds, lightworkers, healers, shamans, spiritual warriors, mystics, peacemakers, and seers, old and young, and their intrepid helpers, who have come here in the service of humanity at this time of great change. All persons' names have been changed, with very few exceptions. Foreword. This is a poem by Hafiz, a quote from page 148 of A Year with Hafiz, with Daniel Ladinsky. Enduring the absurd. Such a dignity can come to us, enduring the absurd, with forbearance and humor. Elegant becomes the countenance of one who exemplifies patience. I am now on chapter 7, E.T. and Me. Here's a quote by Nikola Tesla. Quote, "Alien life is a statistical certainty," unquote, or end quote. 1999. I lived at the Palace for 4 years, 1996 to 2000. After visitations by the Greys for the past 25 years, I had another encounter. There were 3 Greys in my dream space, and as usual, they were heralded by a feeling of dread and abject terror coming over me, a feeling that I can't really convey, but how inescapable and menacing it was. J.K. Rowling would paint in words that feeling the Dementors brought with them, and how they fed off the fear they created. And for me, how some hybridization process was a big part of that long history for those years. I was now 43 and had not heard of Loosh, which Robert Monroe of the Monroe Institute described. These beings had been feasting on my fear, and I thought, oh no, not this again. I am so tired of this. Then I thought, what is it they're after? What does anyone want or need but love? When they'd chase me, I'd run, or I ran and they chased me, and I had these thoughts while running from them this time. But this time, I suddenly stopped and faced them and grabbed the nearest one into a hug. He was not prepared for this surprise event. He felt kinda squishy, like a ripe banana, boneless. Must have been a big shock, that human expression of love, the hug. Hugging is a natural expression for me, for sure. I guess he wasn't a hugger. I have not been bothered by those Loosh collectors since I did that, now 25 years later. Love casts out fear. My hug was given sincerely, with no intention to hurt. My conscious introduction to the ETs was when I was 18 or 19. At that time, I lived in an old carriage house on the Molstad estate in Edmonton, Alberta. This introduction was unpleasant, scary. They landed in craft and herded people like cattle. Resistance was futile and escape impossible. We were utterly controlled, that was for sure. From then on, this was the tone of these visitations. Evil was involved in another visitation by a satanic being, sexual trespass. I like that Stephen Forrest, an astrologer, calls it evil. He's not all New Agey shy of that word. Although back then I did not believe evil was real, not until much later. It just wasn't part of my conscious experience. I experienced sleep paralysis once, utter blackness, hearing and feeling a person sit on the edge of the bed and making sounds of undressing and their boots thudding on the floor. I thought it was someone I knew, all of this in that same year. I've had many encounters with other non-human beings of different types. 1981 or 82, Vancouver Island, our first year here after moving from Alberta. I dreamt I was suddenly in a small, smoothly rounded, pristine, all-white, featureless room, and being shown out of a round porthole window what North America looked like from way up in space above the Earth. There were a few beings around me, but I couldn't really see them. They seemed tall and white. I saw there had been earth changes. Vancouver Island was not there. The whole west coast was completely gone. The east coast was gone too. There was a huge inland lake or sea just southeast of Edmonton, Alberta, where I was born, and it covered a big segment of the Midwest USA. I made a sketch of this afterwards. November 16th, 1985, Book 7, page 3. Note, my first Saturn return, exact. Dreamt, it's night. I'm with my husband in the Jimmy, our vehicle at the time. We're driving around a city, Nanaimo or Edmonton, and there are many flying saucers, all identical and gunwale gray in color, with porthole windows around the rim. I wasn't really frightened, but it was mysterious and a bit spooky. They are numerous and seem to be everywhere, hovering in groups. The aliens are very short, humanoid, and green-yellow colored. Definitely not of this world. I hug one of them and understand they are love-based, too. Like they just want to love, too. It's so strange about this dream. As I remember another version or another event, my husband and I are stopped on a mountain pass in the Rockies on the highway at night, and it's deserted. We get out and meet with 3 to 6 of these aliens on the road. June 25th, 2000, Book 68, page 78. I had been doing Tai Chi at the outcrop at Piper's Lagoon, which borders on the Georgia Strait. I was just laying there after my set. I had been feeling so blue and noticing all the different modes of transportation and activity on this beautiful summer's day. Sailboats, float planes, jets, ferries, kites, motorboats, a helicopter, kayaks. I wondered what would come next, when a deep throbbing sound began in the sky from further south. It continued to get louder and louder as it slowly got closer and was very loud, passing directly over me. This took several, maybe 10 minutes, and I was standing up and looking around for the source, and there was nothing visually, just the sound and presence of something miles long traveling low overhead. Then the sound gradually lessened, and I saw a flash of iridescent light in the direction it was headed, north over the ocean, and then it was gone. I looked around for anyone to ask, "Did you hear that?" And there was not one soul to be seen. Most unusual on this balmy day in this popular park, not anyone. And the parking lot was deserted too. I didn't know what to think about that. Years later, I mused that maybe it was a huge mothership that passed over me. I could not think of any other explanation, or for the strange absence of people. April 23rd, 2006, Book 149, page 1. I lived in a condo near the hospital at this time. I'd been reading a lot of books about UFOs and contactees. My first journal mentioned of this event was April 23rd. There's this bright flashing light in the western sky tonight, no other stars out. And this thing is bright, stationary. The next day, April 24th, page 9 to 10, I've been feeling some awareness of being watched and monitored. It's almost constant. It's made me anxious. After it got dark, I saw that same very bright and colorful light not too high over Mount Benson. The colors, blue, red, and white, flashing. I phoned up Jeannie in the suite above mine and asked if she had binoculars I could borrow, and told her why. Went and got them, came back down and had a look. Well, those are flashing colors, not just twinkling. So I phoned Jeannie and said I want her to have a look, tell me what she thinks. I came up to her place, we went out onto her balcony, and she exclaimed at it. Then was looking here and there with the binoculars, saying, "Oh, there's another one. There are 3. Oh, they're moving." And just in that 10 to 15 minutes, The one over Mount Benson sank lower and lower and out of sight behind the mountain. When I asked her what she thought, she said, after some hesitation, "Must be the space station," which made no sense and I did not think was so, but didn't say. I've since looked that up and no, it's not what the space station looks like from Earth. Also, that light is sometimes very low and I've seen two together. In my memory of this event, the colored lights were revolving around the horizontal perimeter of the disk. A couple days later, April 25th, page 20, observed those two lights last night. Showed my next door neighbor, Gabby. The one over Mount Benson was much lower down, then gone in a short time. April 7th, 2006. Book 148, page 1 to 2. The condo. I had laid down on my bed, tired and deeply relaxed, closed my eyes, and was instantly in deep outer space. It was an inky, velvety, indigo blackness. I saw there was a spacecraft quite close, hovering silently, deep cobalt indigo blue matte, not shiny, and bell-shaped, 2 levels, like a bell with an underskirt. I felt alarmed, opened my eyes. I'm back in my bedroom. Closed my eyes, and I was instantly back in deep space with this craft nearby. I opened my eyes and then got up, disturbed by this. This is well after that love casts out fear Gray's event, so I don't know why I was afraid. But I was. I can only speculate about that. Back then I did not have the vocabulary that is common now, but would now say that may have been an out-of-body experience. That is my memory of that experience, and this is what I actually reported in my journal, same date. So in that first hour of sleep, 3 to 4 a.m., I dreamt, and it was like as soon as I closed my eyes, I slept immediately, and I was outside somewhere, looked up, and there was a dark gray, cobalt blue matte UFO, oval in shape, flat-bottomed, dome-tiered top. There's a sketch of this I did. Hovering utterly silently, maybe emitting a faint glow, overall glow, slight variation of hue, making the shape distinct. It was quite large and quite close, maybe the height of this 4-story condo, in the air above me. I saw this and just ran. Got inside somewhere, the condo or some building, and then right away there were many black helicopters and other unmarked ones, buzzing over, close by, as low and close as they could get, and thick and fast they were. They freaked me out almost as much as the UFO did. I was seeing them through some vertical windows, I think, standing to the side of them to be out of sight. You couldn't see who was flying them. February 12, 1990, Book 13, page 154 to 155. Quote, strange dream last night. I haven't dreamt of flying saucers in a while. I was stopped in front of a railway crossing at night, about to drive over the tracks, when I noticed stars, a constellation of a man, moving in such a way that it looked like a man dancing, and I somehow knew it was a sign that something extraordinary was about to happen, as if this wasn't amazing enough. Then I drove on, and in a field soon after saw a flying saucer crash in the field. I stopped, maybe observing or visiting the scene. I saw one of the aliens on board, a strange being, almost transparent, like a jellyfish substance. It was tall and willowy, I think. Almost right away another saucer came and hovered over to help. July 3rd, 1991, Book 17, page 11. Quote, my daughter, age 4, has been playing tied-up babies again. I wonder where that comes from. And she was pushing her clear baby in the swing in the park today. She was pushing that clear baby in her doll stroller too, earlier. And when I asked her why no dolly, she said her clear baby was in the stroller. I remembered how it was just something she saw, but I didn't. She was so impatient with my non-seeing what was obvious to her. December 26, 1991, Book 18, page 34 to 35. Quote, dreamt I was outside on a city street with 1 or 2 other people. One of them was a tall, dark-haired and bearded man, The other may have been my Jan, but I'm not sure. We saw a light in the sky which seemed unusual and which materialized into shiny outlines of disc-shaped flying saucers, 2 or 3 of them, and one shot a beam at a big jet airplane's tail end and pushed it down. To what purpose I don't know. I hid behind a white van even though I knew they had seen us, and hiding was useless really, but I was scared. Then I ran home, which was a small apartment. I seemed to be alone really throughout, and then later the dark-haired fellow showed up at the door. I answered and let him in, and he was moving like a sleepwalker, and his face was all tight, puffy, and red-burned like he had a bad sunburn. And I was thinking, what can I do? Then I was worried, and then I woke up from the dream because the phone rang. Unquote. February 18th, 2006, Book 146, pages 44 to 49, quote, I had a deep massage therapy session with the best ever therapist, Byron. I'd walked a long hill to get there, so he paid more attention to my calves. That night, I had an ultra-real lucid dream. I was at the corner of a covered car park behind a concrete pillar, right near where my Dragon 2000 banner was displayed for a season, on the waterfront walkway by Jabberwocky. And I was witnessing a huge, brassy, old metal-colored, starburst-shaped craft, no nuts, bolts, or seams, glide low, soundlessly, and through the Coast Bastion high-rise hotel, as if the building was air. From the bottom center of this star-shaped craft was pointing a laser beam of light energy, which was directed at selected people on the street. And it was disappearing those targeted people from out of small groups. These people were just eliminated from the group. This caused the breakdown of society, and a lawless, violent chaos ensued. It was awful. I tried to aid a woman who was being assaulted but couldn't, as I was not in that same frequency, like I was a ghost in that familiar world. I saw the pilot of this craft. He appeared to be a human man, wearing a grayish-blue business suit, blonde, he looked sort of Dutch, whose face was a red, rigid mask of sheer rage and hatred, a terrible frozen grimace. From a distance now in time and space, I can feel compassion for such a one as that. How horrible to be trapped in that state of being. But up close and personal, not so much. Christ did not tarry forever in hell's realms, and surely he did his level best there. Whoever could be rescued was. Then it was time for other things, other elevating, illuminating, enlightening states of consciousness. Christ consciousness. From Book 46, page 68 to 69, January 4th, 1998. Gee, what a scary and awful dream I had, and it went on and on. I was walking along a country road, daytime. I was forced by aliens who looked like people with weird eyes, or part robot electronic. I resisted and then was unconscious, and then awoke naked on a hospital-like narrow bed with an achy pain in my ovary region. I looked down and saw blood on my inner thighs. It reminded me of how it felt after a D&C. I knew they'd done some procedure. The main thing throughout was that they could see you and could do whatever, anywhere you were, at any time, and they were overpowering, even though I kept trying to evade them. One of them I remember grabbing my arm and dragging me, fierce expression, and strong and solid royal blue eyes, and they were messing with a lot of people. There was a camera-like aperture that would open and find you anywhere. Like the way people have tagged and tracked animals, is what it reminded me of. It was so creepy. Unquote. From Book 40, page 198, January 20th, 1997. Quote, dreamt last night there were babies everywhere about me, in and on everything, and they were clear, as in crystalline and transparent. Unquote. Page 40, Book 170, December 18th, 1996. Quote, I dreamt I was walking along and surrounded by a clan of nearly giants. They were so tall and large, I marveled at it. I couldn't see their faces or tell if they were friendly. They didn't seem to mean me harm, but I wasn't sure. Unquote. Implants and other strange marks. 2012, August. The pen. Since January 1st, 2010, I had experienced very heavy, ultra-low frequency EMF in the 4th floor apartment I'd moved to just 3 months before. Yeah, and lots of other harassments inside and outside of this 50-unit building were ongoing. About 6 years before, when I was still at the condo, I'd had several doctor's appointments to have warts removed from the sole of one foot with liquid nitrogen. Very painful, the last appointment, especially so. I mentioned this because it could be relevant. After 8 months of this EMF bombardment and other very disturbing occurrences with other tenants, I was afraid all the time. One really hot August night, just to escape my suite, I went up to the level of the roof exit door and spent sleepless hours curled up in that small space till dawn. What a nightmarish time that was. But I still remember how gorgeous the sunrise was from that vantage, overlooking the shining sea. I overheard the secret knocks on Skeletal's door just below my little perch. Some secretive meeting of these perps at this place at this early hour. I had been involved in some protests against the forced installation of smart meters, which had increased the stalking and harassment I experienced. I crept back to my suite and took off my runners, which had been overheating my feet all night. I'd had a sore spot on my sole, right where I'd had that last wart treatment, and had a thick callus there, which was now inflamed, and the skin was now lifting up off the edge of it. I thought if I got the callus off, it would relieve it. So I partially removed it, though it was still quite attached in the center of this 1/4 inch diameter spot. I could see that there was filaments that looked like black hairs poking out. I cleaned that off and saw this. The black was congealed blood and washed off. I could see that the hair-fine filaments were transparent like fiber optics. And on this flat, perfectly circular patch, melded to my flesh, they were in a precise, evenly spaced grid pattern of the same even bristle length poking straight out. I made a drawing of it. It was too awkward to photograph, and later I asked my friend, Dee, to take a photo for me, but she refused. I'd met her 17 years before and had trusted her, but that's another story. This thing attached to my soul was gradually absorbed or degraded over about a month's time. I gradually got the whole thing off, and it was then gone and my foot healed. When I saw my MD for another matter and told her about it, and her immediate response, without having seen it, was to say, "It must be some mollusk I'd picked up on some beach." Then she asked to see it after she'd already given her opinion, and I said no. By then I had my doubts about that person. I'd begged to differ on that uninformed opinion, but she was curious. My guess is an implant made with sophisticated biotechnology. And who put it there? To serve what purpose? Why was I not informed? Never mind asked for consent. This was the same MD who some years later said this TI stuff's probably been happening to me since the day I was born. Like she had some inside info that I did not have. 2013 summer. I awoke in the night with an excruciating pain in my lower abdomen on my right side. It was so intense I could hardly breathe. Strangely, I fell back to sleep pretty quick. In the morning, I saw these marks on my body. A needle puncture on my upper inner thigh, pink and raised, and 4 fingerprint bruises alongside. And on that area where I'd felt the pain were 3 larger needle entry marks in an equal triangle, about 1 inch apart, maybe a bit more. Those 3 marks are now moles, 2024, at this writing. I was 55 when this happened, and menopause started soon after. I had been conned into a sexual relationship by a very strange cat, Tex, an ex-Navy officer, and who knows what else. I could digress about that, My intuition about this so secretive middle-of-the-night drugging and interference with my body, with my ovaries specifically, was maybe some last harvesting of my eggs by my lab. That's military, that works with aliens and their technology. Next best thing to a fetus, I guess. I've had those removed more than once, but that's another story. In my chapter, The Orb and the Little Green Guy, still to come, I wrote of the 2008 unexplained marks on my upper right arm, like a staple gun shot of 2 red dots, and how I saw that my neighbor and elderly friend Joy had also just got vaccinated in the same arm and spot, and how that set of 2 red dots has proliferated over my torso and thighs ever since. To this day, they still pop up. Again, so secretively done. And I wonder what that's about. I wonder what their function is. These are unanswered questions. And other hinted at plants were a dental tooth post put in during a root canal, possibly more than one, and my eyeglasses, some kind of spy tech. I know how that sounds. So paranoid. So conspiracy theorist. All of this was years before the internet or any such things were discussed. 1994, the Solaire duplex. I so casually had met Alf in 1992 at a small local lake where I often took my 6-year-old to play at a quite private little bit of beach. I had no inkling at that time that being separated, getting divorced after being injured from a car accident, and thrown into welfare poverty would make me so vulnerable to people who had hidden dark agendas. I took others at face value and had rose-colored glasses back then. Alf was charming and so much younger than me too, and he wormed his way into my life and my bed. So I began a 7-year saga with that person. That's how con artists operate, by gaining your trust first. The summer of 1994, I saw him morph into a lizard in an instant. It was like a screen had dropped or a channel changed, and I had no idea about what so many years later would be all over the internet about reptilians. I was fully awake when this happened, and I didn't know what to think, and I sure didn't say anything about it to him. 2020. I was sitting outside on a wintry night, a clear, deep blue sky lit up by the stars. I was gazing up in the direction of Orion's belt in the southeast and noticed what I thought at first was a bright star moving, then saw that it was 4 bright lights in an equilateral triangle formation, the lead light at the tip and the other 3 in a straight line along the back edge. It was slowly, silently moving across the sky from northwest to southeast, and it was high up and enormous. I could see stars beyond it, through it, like it was transparent. Some kind of craft. Unquote. December 15th, 1990. Book 15, page 129. We were camped at Ohope Beach, New Zealand. Dreamt night before last that Jan, Bev, and I witnessed UFOs landing into and rising out of the ocean in New Zealand, Ohope Beach, I think. It was an awesome sight. There were 3 or 4, and the second one was huge, a metallic-looking disc rising out of the ocean so silently right in front of us, not that far away. It was also scary. In brackets, I recall seeing the water stream off of the huge one. About 2016, I was visiting my sister and her husband in the countryside of southeast Alberta, where they lived on their large acreage. It was winter, but not a lot of snow. At dusk, I went for a solo stroll down the kilometer-long curvy driveway. About halfway along, there's a spot where you can't see the house or the road, just bush and trees on both sides. And I paused there, having a smoke and enjoying the peaceful quiet. Suddenly, a very tall being, I'd say 7 to 8 feet tall or more, and gray in color, strode past, fast straight across my path, about 5 yards in front of me, in the bush, and I could hear its passage, which was so fast. I heard branches cracking. As I told my sister, I beat a hasty retreat, I asked them if there were any very large gray antlered elk in that area at that time of year. They said, no. Next day my sister, who says of me, "You were always very fey," told me that a local farmer, a very down-to-earth sort, had told some mutual acquaintance that he had been in one of his fields having his lunch break, and a Sasquatch came into view, out in the open field, and he watched it for several minutes. He had a very clear, long, and thorough look at it. Too bad he didn't say what color it was. December 22nd, 2023, book 285, page 50 to 51. Oh, I just want to say about that Sasquatch sighting, that when I asked my sister about it, about her telling me about it, I don't know how much longer later, she didn't have any recollection. Zero. So I now hear that that's actually a thing where memory of things will just disappear. Okay, December 22nd, 2023, book 285, page 50 to 51. Quote, dreamt I was in Bowen Park, sitting on the ground, summertime, daytime, and I saw a UFO appear, like a no-color, ghostly, but very clear object. It was large, circular, round, but not an orb, with large circular details on the underside. It moved slowly, gently. Then another one was there, too. There was some kind of portal above that one of them moved into, like a docking area. There were 2 or 3, all the same. I felt they were aware of me. I wasn't afraid, but curious, unquote. February 27th, 2024, book 285, page 149 to 150, quote, dreamt I was with some people outside in a woodland park, rocky and woods. A shadowy figure emerged from the edge of the woods and came towards us, up quite close. It was a dark gray alien, male, no hair, deeply seamed longish face, sort of craggy, about my height, 5'8", longer torso and arms than legs. He said nothing and I didn't pick up any message, but he was obviously unthreatening and benign. One guy was with us got so really excited about it. The alien being didn't stay long. As he was leaving, walking away, I thanked him for coming to see us and tried to follow him, but he was gone, unquote. May 26, 2008, book 170, page 58 to 59. I was awoken so early, I was dreaming it was this, that I woke up and rolled over in bed and saw an extraterrestrial being very close to my bedside looking at me. It was very pale grasshopper green all over. Even his eyes were this same color. I just saw his head, really, though it was standing there. It was not very tall. I was so startled. Did I yell maybe? Or just my being startled? It immediately disappeared. Something about me giving birth or being pregnant about this? I did not feel threatened, just shocked, startled, surprised. It was like, other than that, I didn't even have time to react, really. But my feeling impression of this entity's presence was one of scrutiny, maybe curiosity, and even some kind of concern for me. Though because of the all the same color, I have no real impression of its facial expression. It looks sort of insect-like, not sure about the mouth part. At that time I had been under a lot of stress in my condo suite. Here I have drawn the being in my journal. There's a note, now for a side note, it's now November 17th, 2024 as I write this. Last Wednesday, November 13th, 2024, I was researching my journals to find the exact date of when I experienced the orb and the little green guy, and knew it was probably 2008 or so, and in searching, came instead upon this account that I just read. They were both green, short, insectoid, humanoid, but not the same species. On this Wednesday, November 13th, 2024, in the Nanaimo News Bulletin was an article about a local painter's show of his renditions of 2 different species of green aliens who are friends and tour BC, Canada, and think it's the most beautiful place on planet Earth. To see this article about Rod C's show at Art 10 Gallery on the very day I found my 2 green aliens with such exact synchronicity, like a big bright highlighter saying, "Yes, pay attention, and you're not the only one." We're both painters, something we have in common, and we were acquaintances years ago. May 18th, 2007, book 156, page 182 to 183. I dreamt my daughter Wren was a little girl, about 1992. This setting where we were was a wood house, the feel of a beach locale. I opened the door to some room, and there was a very tall, very, very thin, pale white alien, wearing a white bonnet with long side strings hanging down. It knew I was there, and I quickly retreated, shut the door. Then, being terrified at the sight and worried about Wren's whereabouts, I peeked again to see if it was gone. It was still there and still aware of me, and I was so scared by this. Then I found Wren, and I think and felt relieved, and there was other action and people. My Scottish friend Mac, his hair quite red. Others I don't recall now. Just that when I looked once more, the alien was gone. May 18th, 2007, book 156, page 188 to 189. Quote, dreamt a very weird dream. I was with my childhood friend Libby and Mac. Evening at some house or restaurant, all of us at the round table near the large windows. I was wearing a helmet, like a motorcycle helmet, and we saw a UFO, a small dull-colored saucer, come into sight. I hid, crouched under the table, and kind of moaned, "Oh no," when it came for us. We were transported on board the craft, and that part is a blank as to how or how long we were on board, and then found ourselves freed in a yard of a house on Quadra Street of another person I know. I could feel the grass under my bare feet, see the ocean in the late summer twilight, and we started to walk up the street toward Bev's house on Quadra Street. We didn't converse, and it was like being on automatic pilot, a kind of hypnagogic state. Bev appeared, yacked away, didn't notice our silence. We ignored him like we had orders instilled, and carried on walking to some place along Stewart Avenue, which overlooks the marina. Weird goings-on we just observed. Had to move through the rooms, all of us silent but acutely aware of each other's presence. I felt fairly calm, or numb, as we were all in this experience together. Saw disturbing stuff, aliens working on benumbed other people, molding and shaping them, and it seemed some people expired too from all this experimentation. We moved through like zombies, not calling attention to ourselves. Then, at yet another such sight, though different and somehow more intense, and here both Mac and Libby were captured, succumbed, taken, and then I felt really scared and alone without them. Still intent on not succumbing, I got out but was shown some strange, large wall clock at the door as I left, and was telepathically told that at 3 o'clock I was to be back and or would be picked up again. It was like a stern, severe voice command, which was confusing because somehow I thought it was already was 4 or 5 o'clock. I think I was still wearing my black and silvery helmet. Somehow I still hoped to get away. July 17th, 2007, book 157, page 181. Quote, dreamt that I had a baby girl. Dreamt that I'd had a baby, a girl, small, hair was dark, salt and pepper gray, which really disturbed me, as did this baby being presented to me as mine at age 51. And I had no recollection of being pregnant or giving birth, and I didn't want it, not being up to the task of raising a child at my age. I ignored it, then some time later felt bad about abandoning it, and was walking along a narrow road to go to see it, and the scene changed before I got there, into some small group of people, women and a man, who I was then with. Unquote. I've had so many dreams of holding the baby. June 2nd, 1997. Book 43, page 84 to 87. Last night I woke up at 2:20 out of a nightmarish dream. I haven't had a UFO invasion dream in ages. This one, I didn't panic. I remained calm and thinking, but I was some scared. Let's see. I was out looking at the night sky, or twilight, and saw saucers. UFOs with lit up wheel-like spokes, a few moving across the sky, high up but clearly visible. All the visuals of them were sort of ghostly, like see-through, like luminescent clear white outlines on gray to black backgrounds. The illusions I still acted under were ducking under a deck or something so they couldn't see me, and knowing this was absurd. They know exactly where you are. And at the very end of the dream, I was getting in my car to escape, and knowing there is no escape if they decide to apprehend you. I recalled one scene. It's night, and I'm shepherding Wren, who's wearing a green sweatshirt. I've got a grasp on her shirt, and I see the room filled with what look like not perfectly round soap bubbles, sort of, which have a band around the middle of each bubble. They're like a vision, a ghost-like projection, and yet I know they are a manifestation of the aliens in another dimension, another form of being. Another scene where I'm in a huge warehouse or parkade-like building, and I see one, then two, then several men seated in an anteroom, glass windowed, or did I peek through the door? And they all have the same devilish hair, kind of Don King in style, in black and burgundy red. The sight of them scared me, and then seeing that lots of people were gathered, herded there, and they were being turned into robots. A very young man and I whispered about it. We're assessing, communicating about it. He came with me. We slipped away quietly, got into my car, and we're going to drive out of there. I put my key in the ignition. Then I woke up. End quote. April 8th, 2008, book 167, page 106 to 107. Quote, dreamt I was at a vacation spot, kind of like Westwood Lake, close to town. I was with a group of people, family-oriented. I felt relaxed and fine. I had to go into town on some errand, and I think I walked, but not sure. Some kid came with me, about age 8 or 9, a boy, I think. We got to the house, very much like Bev's place, only the front door by the garage was ground level, I think, and had a large cat flap door, which as soon as we got there, the kid dove into quickly, as a man had arrived in a new RV or car in the driveway. And there was some tension or anxiety about that, like we were being caught out or something. As soon as I said I couldn't really smell the sulfur odor because I had a cold, tail end, the man relaxed and gave me a big smile, warm, perfect teeth. He was dark-haired, well-groomed and handsome, dressed in a suit and tie of medium height, slightly stocky, and he extended his hand to shake mine. There had been some inquiry prior about the sulfur smell. Did he bring it up? I have no idea what my errand was, though I know it was quick or who the kid was. It's like I can't picture them, just that they were skinny. Kid about 4.5 feet tall, skinny, and sulfur smell. And this man, a total stranger, showing up immediately like that. Yep, strange. In brackets, I bet Preston Dennett, a paranormal and UFO ET researcher, would agree that this is a screen memory, as all three main elements crop up often in his research. I had this dream long before such things were on the internet, at least that I know of. And that's episode 3 for today. Signing off.